You know, there are some sounds in rock and roll that are just unmistakable. You hear one single note and bam, you know exactly who it is. And right at the top of that list, it's got to be the majestic, almost orchestral tone of Queen's Brian May. But here's the thing, it's not just one thing. It's an entire system, a complete signal chain from his fingers all the way to the speaker. So today, let's deconstruct one of the greatest sounds ever made. And it all starts right here, with a guitar that's just as legendary as the man who plays it. This is the Red Special, or as he calls it, the Old Lady. Now, you couldn't just go buy this in a store. Nope, it was built completely by hand by a teenage Brian May and his dad, Harold. And get this, they used wood from a 100-year-old fireplace mantle. It's a true one-of-a-kind instrument, born from sheer ingenuity.
So that's the big question, right? How in the world does this humble, homemade guitar become the voice behind some of the most iconic sounds ever recorded? Well, the answer is a journey through physics, through electronics, and honestly, some really clever, unconventional thinking. So come on, let's follow the signal.
First things first, we've got to talk about the guitar itself, because before you even plug it in, before any electricity is involved, the actual wood and the design of the Red Special are already shaping that sound. This really is the soul of the machine.
See, the Red Special isn't a solid chunk of wood like, say, a Fender Stratocaster. Not at all. Brian and his dad very intentionally designed it with what are called acoustic chambers, basically hollow pockets of air left inside the body. This makes it a semi-hollow guitar, and that design allows it to vibrate and resonate in a way that solid-body guitars just can't.
And this was no accident. After Brian saw the legendary Jeff Beck manipulating feedback on stage, he knew he wanted a guitar that felt alive. These chambers are the key. They let the body of the guitar interact with the sound waves coming from the amplifier, creating this incredible, responsive loop of controllable musical feedback. The guitar literally sings back to him.
Okay, so we've got this resonant, living guitar. Now, what's the very first thing that actually makes the sound? The thing that hits the strings? For pretty much every other guitarist on Earth, it's a little piece of plastic, a plectrum. But not for Brian May.
That's right, he uses a coin, a British sixpence to be exact. Think about it. A flexible piece of plastic gives you a certain kind of snap. But a hard, rigid, serrated piece of metal, that's a whole different ballgame. The physics are actually pretty simple. The rigid coin doesn't really absorb any energy on impact. It transfers it straight to the string and adds its own metallic character.
And it's not just about hitting the strings hard. By changing the angle of the coin, he can use that serrated edge to get this incredible chime or even a scratch. This adds a whole extra layer of high-end harmonics and a totally unique texture to the sound before it even gets turned into an electrical signal. It's genius. Okay, so now that sound hits the pickups and becomes electric. And this is where we get into the Red Special's famously complex brain. The wiring in this thing is unlike almost any other guitar you will ever see. Let's break this down. You've got 3 pickups, and each one has its own on-off switch. But here's the kicker. Each one also has its own phase reversal switch. On top of that, they're wired in series, not parallel like most guitars, which means the signal gets fatter and more powerful as you combine pickups. All of this gives him an absolutely insane amount of tonal control. So what on earth does that phase switch do? Well, in phase is your standard sound. The pickups work together, reinforcing each other for a big, full tone. But when you flip one pickup out of phase, its signal actually starts working against the other one. This causes certain frequencies to cancel each other out, creating this much thinner, kind of nasal, almost vocal-like sound. It's a beautifully weird and incredibly expressive effect. And this is where you hear it. That classic, punchy Queen rhythm guitar? That's usually the bridge and middle pickups on, working together, totally in phase. But that soaring, violin-like lead tone from the Bohemian Rhapsody solo, that's his signature sound. The neck and middle pickups switched out of phase. That's what creates those screaming vocal harmonics. All right, the signal is now leaving the guitar. But before it ever gets to an amplifier, it passes through what might just be the secret ingredient to this whole recipe. It's a small, simple box that is always, and I mean always, on. This is the Treble Booster, and inside you'll find old-school tech like this, vintage germanium transistors. It's a really simple circuit, but what it does is just profound. And listen, this is not a distortion pedal like we think of them today. It is a pure tone shaper. See, back in the 60s, when you'd crank up a big British tube amp like a Vox AC30, the sound could get a little dark and muddy on the low end.
The Treble Booster was literally invented to solve that exact problem. And here's the crucial part. Think of it like a focusing lens for his guitar signal. It cuts out all those bass frequencies that cause all that mud, and then it aggressively boosts the upper mid-range. So this newly focused, sharpened signal slams into the front of the amplifier, pushing it into a beautifully smooth, articulate, and clear distortion, not just a fuzzy mess. Which brings us to the final, thundering piece of the puzzle, the voice of Queen. It's that iconic wall of Vox AC30 amplifiers, but he uses them in a very specific and honestly pretty counterintuitive way. So if you've ever played a Vox AC30, you know you plug into the famous top boost channel. It's bright, it chimes, it has all the tone controls. It's the logical choice. But Brian May, he plugs into the darker, much simpler normal channel. So why would he do that? Because he's not looking for preamp distortion. He turns the amplifier's volume knob all the way up to 10, maximum. This forces the power tubes to do all the heavy lifting, creating this incredibly rich, complex saturation. Then, and this is the magic part, he uses his guitar's volume knob as the master control for the entire rig. He rolls it back, the sound cleans up. He rolls it up, and it screams. The amp just becomes this pure power engine waiting to be unleashed. And you see, you can't just take one piece of this puzzle and expect to get the sound. It doesn't work that way. The coin needs the resonant guitar. That unique wiring needs the treble booster to focus it. And the booster needs that cranked amp to really sing. It's not a guitar, a pedal, and an amp. It's one single symbiotic instrument. So here it is, the whole royal recipe. You've got the semi-hollow red special providing that incredible resonance and feedback, the sixpence coin adding that unique harmonic chime and attack, the wild series and phase switching that gives him this massive tonal palette, the always-on treble booster to focus that signal and drive the amp, and finally that maxed-out AC30 on the normal channel, turning it all into pure, glorious power amp saturation. It's a perfectly balanced system. Which really just leaves us with one final thought to chew on. From a piece of a fireplace mantle to a wall of screaming amplifiers, was this incredible, iconic sound the result of meticulous, deliberate engineering from a man who had become an astrophysicist? Or was it just the magical result of a teenager and his dad making one brilliant, happy accident after another in their workshop? You know, maybe the real truth is, it's a little bit of both.